Hi, welcome to another episode of Sweet 915. It's me, Fedora, and my host.
Curtis. Hey, everybody.
How are you today, Curtis?
I had a long trip back.
Yeah.
Got my COVID test back yesterday en route to El Paso, Texas. So I'm negative. So it was a good trip.
Yay. All
Got to
right.
see my kids, got to see my family. So got to eat some soul food.
Oh.
Soul food.
Some collard greens and
Yeah,
cornbread,
collard green, cornbread,
macaroni
uh,
cheese,
macaroni
oxtail.
cheese, turkey wings.
You have no
Uh,
oxtail?
no, my sister didn't do
No.
oxtail this time. She seafood casserole.
Okay.
She's turning what's it called? Pescatarian.
Pescatarian? Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
she turned pescatarian on me. So she
All
cooked what
right.
I wanted to eat. Yeah, she cooked what I want to eat, and then she cooked what
Then she
she.
fixed her food. Yeah.
Right,
That's how.
right, right.
Yeah.
Her and my nephew, and I also had some deer stew. It's pretty good.
Dear. Really?
Yeah, yeah, it's deer stew. My brother-in-law made some deer stew, so that was pretty good. I got to uh, experience some different stuff. Well, he cooks it all. He's a pretty good cook. But I didn't go anywhere the whole time I was there. My aunt came to see me at my sister's house. My mom came to see me at my sister's house. So yeah, I'm a punk. Y'all can call me what you want. I'm scared of COVID. I stayed in the house the whole time. I
Yeah,
didn't go
you
anywhere.
should be.
Yeah. So those family members and friends that I didn't get to see when I was home, I apologize when COVID is over. And I get a chance to come back to South Carolina, I will definitely drop in and say hello. But right now, COVID's going on, and I'm trying to stay COVID free.
There you go. Got to do what you got to do.
I know, right?
One thing for sure. All right.
Yeah.
So we have a special guest this afternoon.
Yeah. Who is it?
Well, her name is Cassandra Harris, and she is
Hi.
a counselor. Hey, Cassandra.
Hey,
Hey.
Cassandra, how you doing?
How
Hi.
are
I'm
you?
good. How are you? Good. Good. How are you guys?
We good.
Good.
It's Sunday. It's NFL Sunday. My team's not playing today. We play tomorrow. But it's all good. It's all
Oh,
good. Thanks
good.
for coming. I know it's NFL Sunday, and you from Chicago, right?
I am. I am. So we don't have to talk about the Bears though. You can kind of keep it going. Keep it moving. Keep the intro going.
Okay, we want to talk about the Chicago Bears. Then we'll leave it alone.
She like next.
Next. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Next.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it alone then. Okay.
So, Miss Harris, could tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Cassandra. I am from Chicago, born and raised. Um, I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor.
Okay.
And here in the state of Illinois, that is like the highest the highest license you can have in counseling. So I have probably been doing this about 13 years, which like shocks
Oh,
me when I
outstanding.
say it. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
wow,
outstanding.
how old am I? Okay, well,
I know that's awesome.
So I've been doing this for a long time. I originally my journey started with DCFS, so Department of Children and Family Services here. Um, Doing so straight out of undergrad, I got the job with DCFS and was working with at-risk youth, females at the time, which was definitely interesting. Being young and mentoring and working with at-risk young ladies was very, very interesting. So what I saw was a lot of these young ladies would come through the shelter system and they would be like labeled bipolar, ADHD. And so as they continue to kind of like trickle in and out of the system, literally like a light bulb went off for me. And I said, how are all these young ladies ADHD and bipolar? Like there's got to be something else that we're missing. There's got to be a connection that's not connecting. So that's what prompted me to go to grad school to just learn more about the mind, learn more about just disorders. And while in grad school, that's kind of when I was able to correlate okay, these kids have reactive attachment disorder. These kids have been snatched out of their homes and placed in foster care, where the foster family usually has them for money and things of that nature. And so I'm like, why aren't we addressing that? Why are we just slapping bipolar and ADHD label on these children and then giving them medication? Half of them are zombies. So that's kind of what really prompted my journey. So went back to grad school, received my master's, did an internship that exposed me to a little bit of everything. So when I say I have experience in a little bit of everything, like I truly mean that. I've done inpatient, outpatient, I've done children, I've done older adults, I've done
Mhm.
court mandated, I've done school, intensive outpatient, partial hospitalization, you name it, I pretty much have done it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate that experience because that allowed me to really find my niche and find out what population I really gravitate to. And it goes back to the very beginning. So at-risk youth, teens, are my passion. They're the ones who get my creative juices going. I have a soft spot for them. So I find that I'm the most creative when I'm working with like the at-risk youth population.
Okay.
Awesome.
So do you have your own firm, or do you work for a company?
Yeah, so I actually am a clinical director currently at a specialized mental health facility.
Okay.
So this facility houses individuals who aren't able to live on their own in the community due to mental illness. No medical issues. Well, sometimes correlated with medical and co-occurring substance abuse, but majority of the reason is because of a mental illness. So we provide all the services that they need in-house, so they don't even have to ever leave the facility.
Okay.
Now, are they able to work in the community or no?
Yeah, so they can actually work inside of the facility or they can work in the community.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we work to kind of transition those who are appropriate into the community, and then those who aren't appropriate will just kind of stay with us, you know, really the duration of how long they feel like they need to stay there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, we have some questions. So I have one for you. We know that this COVID has hit us with like a ton of bricks, and we have not been I guess able to really grasp the severity of it. Some people have, some people haven't. And so many people are feeling down and depressed because of all the restrictions and not being able to be around others, to gather, to be with family and friends. So, if you could share some specifics on how individuals can cope during this pandemic
Mhm.
and how counselors and therapists may be able to help them or assist them, because I know they can't come into the office, so maybe virtual or something of that nature.
Yeah. So I think this pandemic obviously has been shocking to everybody, right? We didn't see it coming. We couldn't plan for this. We didn't anticipate it. And here we are, 7, 8 months into it. Um, on top of currently daylight saving time. So it's getting dark early.
Yes.
Holidays are coming. So this is just an overall hard time for people. Um, and so I think as therapists, kind of jumping back and forth from the question, but as a therapist, it's very, very important for us right now to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to make sure we're checking in on people, making sure we're providing those pro bono services, making sure that we're providing virtual services because again, not only is it the holidays, but it's a pandemic, on top of that too.
Mhm.
So some things that can be used to help cope with this, and again, these things don't work for everybody, but there is something that's going to work for everybody. Me personally, my first and foremost coping skill would probably be to make sure you're taking time to unplug. And when I say unplug, I truly mean that from work, from family, from friends, and most importantly, from social media and all other medias. So if every time we get on Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, what have you, it's always COVID this, COVID that, the number of deaths, the number of cases, this is shutting down, you can no longer do this. That takes a toll on the mental. So making sure we're taking time to kind of unplug and not just engulfing ourselves into those things that will increase our depression or increase our anxiety.
Mhm.
Um, Another thing that could be done is things as simple as journaling, right? So writing down our feelings, writing down the things that make us anxious or make us depressed, and then figuring out how we can move forward from those things. Figuring out, do I have the ability to change these things? Is this something that I have to radically accept? Um, Showering, believe it or not, showering is huge, right? So
Yeah.
allowing the water to just hit your body, the pressure points, it's very, very soothing, right? So taking a shower, exercising. We're in Chicago, so we can't really take walks. But if you want to bundle up and take a walk, but get in some fresh air, right? So opening the window, petting your pet, right? So if you have a cat or a dog, kind of using that to cuddle and self-soothe. Um, what else? Calling a friend, right? Talking to a friend. Again, we have the technology capabilities where we can do virtual things. And even though I can't physically touch you, I can see you, right? We can laugh. We can, talk about those things. We can cry. So really just kind of figuring out those things that are helpful to you and were helpful to you prior to COVID, and making sure you're implementing those things, taking time out to say, hey, every day I'm going to make sure I laugh. Every day I'm going to make sure I jot down one thing that I'm grateful for, one thing that went right today, and really focusing in on the positives and not so much as those negatives.
Okay. Yeah. That's really good. I was thinking about the shower that you said, and that used to be my thing. At the beginning of the year, I would say, okay, it's time to relate, relax, release. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
just when I would have a stressful day, I was like, okay, my mind, I'm having a warm shower now, and the water is flowing over my body, right? And all
Mm-hmm.
my colleagues would laugh at me, but I was like, this, like making that visual, saying that and not actually being able to do it, but making my mind go to that place, it would
Mm-hmm.
calm me down. And it's like, okay, so what's the next issue that we need to tackle? Okay, so like, let me woosah, as they would say, woosah. So yeah, it
Yeah.
has it is a lot, and we've been in it now for so long until it's like it's our new normal. We just have to,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we have to accept. It's nothing that we can control and we can change, but we have to control ourselves in our environment and have those boundaries. So if you feel that people in your bubble or whomever comes over must wear a mask, then that's what they must wear. Now, if they
Mm-hmm.
don't wear one in their homes or wherever they are, that's their space and they can dictate that. But when they come in your environment, you have to dictate your environment and do what makes you feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And others need to respect that. So I think, us, developing those boundaries, making sure that we take care of ourselves. Like you said, journaling is also good. I found myself personally, the mandalas, the adult coloring books,
Mm-hmm.
as well as drawing and painting. I love to do all three of those. So that helps get my little creative juices, so to speak, out. So I do that, and even if it's not good, it doesn't have to be super good, but it's something that I'll sketch it, and then I'm like, oh, let me paint that, and it'll turn out nicely. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just finding your niche and knowing that this is something we cannot change, so we have to work through it. Have to
Mm-hmm.
stay in the here and now.
And so
What you have?
understanding too that a coping skill is truly just a distraction from your thoughts, right? So even though we heard you say, you'll draw something and it's not good, it's not even really about the piece that you just pinned. It's more about the fact that you were able to distract your thoughts from whatever that negative thinking was. So, it could be doodling, right? So drawing circles or drawing squiggly lines. It's the fact of, hey, I am distracting my mind from those thoughts that are negative or can be harmful. So no matter what it is, that's the absolute goal of utilizing coping skills to insert that distraction.
Mhm. Yes. So Curtis,
Yes, ma'am.
can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I say, can you? Okay. So you're back.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Had some technical difficulties.
I noticed. I noticed.
We kept going
um,
though, Curtis. We kept going.
yeah, we kept going.
Outstanding. You guys doing an outstanding job. Hey, that's what teamwork is about.
That's it.
The
Makes your dream
Aries
work.
crew. The Aries crew, Cassandra.
Oh, okay. You guys can have
Yeah.
that.
What? Hey.
So we have the youth now. I know us as adults, but the youth. Have you found that it has affected them differently or worse off? Because they've been affected by COVID too. Some have gotten into trouble with the law. And so how can we help our youth during this time um, of COVID?
Yeah, so I definitely think the younger generation has a little bit of a harder time processing the seriousness of this. And I can speak for Chicago because that's where I'm at, and I have seen a lot of the younger generation just really not take it seriously in the beginning. Still having like large gatherings, still like hanging out. And so sometimes it takes for the situation to show up in your home or show up in your backyard per se. So meaning like someone or someone who knows somebody. And so I think it's gotten a lot better. But I think originally the youth didn't really understand the seriousness of it. And so really leading by example. Showing them, hey, we're going to wear our masks, we're going to social distance, we're not going to have these large gatherings, can be helpful. um, Sitting down and talking to these youth and helping them understand the seriousness of it. So I think the younger generation isn't really paying attention maybe to the numbers, isn't paying attention to the data, whereas the opposite for the other generations, right? We're like consumed with the numbers. We're like, oh my gosh, another 100 people have, died or caught it or what have you. So really just kind of just figuring out the best way that the youth that you are connected to learn, and just being a teaching vessel for them and helping them understand, what's going on. I haven't, I mean, crime has pretty much been the same. I don't know that COVID has impacted it. I'm sure it has in some point because, again, we're telling the younger generation, hey, you can't go outside, right? You can't be outside. You can't go to this party. You can't go to the mall. You can't, do these certain things. And it's hard for them to understand, why do I have to, be in the house, or this might not be as serious because I don't know anybody who has it. So just really, really helping them understand how their behavior can impact the curve. The goal is obviously to shift that curve and make it go down, and helping them understand like what they can do to help impact that shift.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the youth, what about educating? Because we talk about the numbers, and they're not so curious to watch the numbers on the television until it actually hit home. So when we talk about the large gatherings and stuff like that, some of those that we had on, we talked about it on a couple of shows back, where you may be a carrier and don't know you're a carrier, so you're going to the large gatherings, and you could be the one bringing that back home to your mother, your father, your grandparents, and not know. It doesn't affect you because the numbers are not high with you as you, but you could have been with somebody else that is a carrier, and they gave it to you, and but you don't feel any symptoms, but then you go home and now somebody in your house gets it and you're like, well, I don't have it. so I'm good. No, you probably was the one that brought it from somewhere else into the home. So I think education is important when we talk about the youth, and them understanding that you could be a carrier. You may not be the one, you might not have symptoms, but you could be a carrier, and you could have brought that into the house. And now it affects your whole home, to whereas at one point you couldn't go out. Now you really can't go out because you went to the large gatherings and not taking it very seriously. And I think education is the key to dealing with the youth. I can't speak for Chicago because you guys, with the situations going on up there, I think parents are very, very protective of their kids now. They want them to be able to survive some of the street violences going on in your city. So we talk about Corona. I think that's, if we could just like Fedora was saying, if you come to my house, I would feel safer if you came to my house knowing that you're COVID test negative, and you can come to my house and get away and just do something different. I think family games, but we didn't talk about that. I didn't hear you mention that. So I think that getting reacquainted with your kids, because I'm gonna share something with y'all. So my daughter and I was home. So the whole time, when we hung out a few times, her friends, they were all on this little group thing on the phone. They were talking for hours and hours and hours. Maybe that that could be a way out. You know what I'm saying? Because they couldn't be together, but they used a little app on the phone. She has an iPhone, Apple iPhone 11 or something like that. Right. So they FaceTime each other. So, hey, maybe you can't go to Cassandra's house. However, you, Cassandra, and Fedora y'all could chat and talk about whatever. That could be another way. But just let them know, hey, we can't be together, but we can still, talk on this little phone or your laptop or whatever. Play games or something like that. I thought that was pretty cool that all our friends that went to school, all of them was on this app. They was just chilling. They laying on the floor, just talking about a bunch of nothing. But they were doing stuff. They were occupied. They talked about a little bit about school. They're all seniors, so they were talking about what their game plan is and what's been going on and stuff like that. So I think that's another idea that they could probably use, a FaceTiming. Even though you can't see each other, you can FaceTime and do other things. I don't know.
Yeah. And what's so funny is that's the way I grew up. Yeah. I grew up on the phone late at night when you weren't supposed to be. You're supposed to be asleep on the phone with your friends. Like, we couldn't see each other, but we were on that telephone and we were talking. Yeah. That's my generation. That's how we grew up. That's how I stayed in communication. And then once you had it where you could put more than one person on the line, we really thought we were doing something. Then you have 3 and 4 people on the phone, you type them in, and then boom, everybody's on the phone talking. So yeah, now technology, you can see each other face to face, and everybody can be in a group call. So yes, that's the way. And now this new generation is able to experience that because of our situation. So, and I'm always the person that sees the cup half full. So we have to find the positives within the negatives, or what they say, make lemonade out of the lemons that you have. And so this year has been a doozy, but I'm determined to, make sure that, we have our lemonade. So.
Yeah, I think too, this year has been very eye-opening for everybody, right? And so being impacted by COVID and having a quarantine and, can't go out and can't see others really gave a huge focus to yourself, right? So what am I doing? What could I be doing? Now's the time that I can tap into my creative juices. Now's the time that I can do all those things that I've been putting off forever because, I was too busy doing X, Y, and Z. Now we have nothing. We have nothing to do, right? We're not going to the movies. We barely going out to eat. We're not doing those things. So I think too, COVID also doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, because COVID also stopped the world so you can tap into you and say, okay, after this pandemic, we all should be coming out with a new hobby, some type of business, some type of ideas. We should be coming out with something if we used our time productively and not just like, Netflix and chilling. So we'll see what happens in 21. We'll see who's been doing some work in 2020 and, who's really been, just kind of like chilling in 2020 and not using this for the positive.
Okay.
You're right. You're right.
So let me ask a question from a viewer right quick before we move to the next, before Fedora asks the next question. This is from one of our viewers. They say, I'm mentally and physically drained. I don't know if you asked her this already, Fedora. I used to attend church online and was happy about it. Now I just want to curl up in the ball and not wake up until this is over. I have COVID exhaustion, but I know my family needs me, but I am extremely overwhelmed. In my position, I cannot afford to let my employee know because I need my job. What can I do besides cry myself to sleep?
Yeah, so we feel you. We feel you. Everybody has COVID exhaustion. I don't even want to hear the word COVID anymore, but I know that's the reality, right? So, kind of like we mentioned earlier, getting into that positive mindset, getting into that positive space, utilizing your coping skills, utilizing your resources around you. As far as not letting your employer know, I know most jobs have EAPs, where employee assistance programs that provide therapy and counseling and someone to talk to, and it's confidential. So absolutely look into your employer, see if you have an EAP program. If not, reach out to a therapist. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of therapists that are doing therapy, especially right now, pro bono or on a sliding scale. And it's virtual, yes, but you're still getting that support and you're still getting those skills that you need in order to help you to kind of come out of that COVID exhaustion and depression. Um, because your family needs you, that can be a driving force as well. And engaging in self-care, knowing when you're not okay and saying that you're not okay, so people can jump in and help support you and help lessen your load. Um, but we absolutely understand it's normal, it's not just you. So definitely utilize your resources, find some coping skills that work for you, and get linked up with a therapist.
Okay. This person didn't say whether they were a single parent or um, were they co-parenting together in the house. But I don't. Would you suggest talking to your significant other to maybe see if you can lessen the load on that person that sent the question in? Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're a team, right? And so whenever you are falling short or
mhm,
weak in an area, then that's what your partner is supposed to do. They're supposed
right,
to be, your strength when you're weak or when you're falling short. So absolutely, maybe designated tasks or even saying, hey, when I get home from work, I just need 15 minutes to myself. Can you hold the house down?
right,
Right? I'm going to go in
exactly,
the room or go in the basement or what have you and just kind of have that time. Because again, if you're no good, you can be no good to anyone else. Right. And so,
right,
like Fedora said, the cup is half full is how I look at it too. But I also know I can't pour from an empty cup. So if I
mhm,
give all day and then I'm supposed to come home and give some more, somebody's going to get the short end of the stick because there's
right,
nothing left to give. So
exactly,
making sure you are, resetting yourself and finding that balance and boundaries. Boundaries is huge, especially now because you have those people who are dealing with things and they want to dump on you.
mhm,
And you're like, well, what am I going to do with this? Because I have my own stuff to work on.
right,
My cup is empty. Now giving me some stuff too. So
okay,
definitely setting those boundaries and saying, hey, I can't take that on, or I can't talk today. And it kind of goes back to me saying earlier about unplugging, right? And
mhm,
unplugging from people who are exhausting and draining. You have to unplug from those people because they will take everything out of you.
okay,
Yeah, I'm glad you said unplugging. That's what I've been trying to do because I'm still working. So, but I feel like I never stop working because, and now what I have to do is separate my spaces. So if I'm in the living room, my mind is okay, you're relaxing. Even though if I'm on the computer, if I bring my laptop into the living room, and it's like, okay, this is a more laid back setting. But if I'm at the table, then that's like work. And I will realize that I have been sitting in this position, like gravity has taken over. My legs are swelling, my ankles are swelling, and things of that nature, even with compression socks on.
Yeah.
So it's like I never am not working. Like I'm always on the computer, always, doing a lesson plan, pulling up this, getting this resource, making this Nearpod and checking emails, trying to do this paperwork or that paperwork. And then when I look up, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's 12 o'clock at night. It's 1 o'clock at night. I need to go to bed because I have more work to do in the morning. Like, and so I have to make a conscious effort. Fedora, get up from the table, go handle your business, do what you have to do. I literally have to speak that out because I'm the type of person, I'm so driven. And when I get focused on something, it's like, okay, I just want to finish it. I want to put it in the done box so I can move on to something else. But I have to say to myself, you're not going to finish everything. There is tomorrow. That, plan it out, do a couple of hours here, stop, go do something else. You have to break it up. And then sometimes I find myself being totally distracted when I know I need to be doing something, but I'm like, I don't feel, in my mind, I'm like, I don't feel like doing this. So I'm just going to sit here, or I'm going to lie on the couch, or I'm going to watch ratchet television, just to block it out, to get everything out. And then it's like, okay, I know I need to do this. So then I'll go to the table, but then it's late. So, you're trying to get it done. So I'm trying to find that balance, but it's very, very difficult. It's so hard, but I have to force myself to find a balance.
Yeah.
And maybe try setting alarms on your phone, right? So saying I'm going to do work for 2 hours and I'm going to set an alarm for 3 hours from now. And from 3 to 3:15, I get to do whatever. Or from 3 to 4, I get to watch a ratchet TV show. So maybe that'll help too. But I'm the same way. I'll have this whole day plan and I'll be like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do all these things. And then I'll be like, I don't even want to get out the bed. Like I just want to lay here. I just want to lay here. So I will do that. I'll say, okay, 10 o'clock. All right, you can lay here till 10 o'clock. And at 10 o'clock, you gotta get up and do X, Y, and Z. You have to.
Yeah.
And so that seems to work for me. Smartwatches are helpful too. Smartwatches will tell you if you've been sitting stagnant for more than an hour. It'll tell you to get up and move around and stretch your legs. So those little things, those little reminders can be very key.
Okay.
Yeah, I have my Alexa telling me, remember to drink water. Because I have, since I'm not, moving around all day long, I really have found out I have really stopped drinking water. And it's like, oh my gosh, I will find myself dehydrated where I will just gulp down an entire bottle of water. So I'm like, yeah. And speaking of that, I'm going to drink some water.
I think that was some good advice, Cassandra, as far as the smartphone. And I hope that person is listening with that being said, because you have to take that time out. Maybe if that person would just, even at work, take that 15-minute break that you're supposed to take. And like Fedora is saying, 15 minutes, that work will be right back there in 15 minutes. So take that 15-minute break. Maybe walk outside, take a walk outside, walk around the building, so you may not feel so overwhelmed. You got away from the computer for 15 minutes. You just took a 15-minute walk and with your smartwatch or whatever, at home, same thing, just say, hey, mommy or dad, I did a 15-minute break. Just give me 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes. And I think that'll give them an opportunity to reboot themselves just for a minute. And I think that'll help them out, especially with the smartphone. Can't you set those in, Cassandra, in your smartphone? So for that person to ask the question, I think that Christmas is coming around. There's going to be sales. Get your little smartwatch and see what happens.
Absolutely. And Curtis, even if they don't have smart devices for whatever reason, I mean, things around the house can help. I'm sure your microwave has a timer. The oven has a timer. Like you can buy the old school timers,
Okay.
and if that's what you have to do, right? So if it's really, really important to you, you'll go those extra steps and say,
Okay.
I don't have an iPhone, but I know the oven, I can set a timer and it'll beep. So I'm just gonna do that. Or, whatever the case may be. Like if it's something that's important to you, you'll figure out a way.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Um, I'll let Fedora ask another question before I take another viewer question that I have.
All right. Many in our area are looking for therapists, right? And they want someone to talk to, on how they know that they have how would they know if they have the right person to fit them, when looking for a therapist? Like, what type of characteristics, or should they go by what their issue is? How do they know how to pick a therapist? If the therapist is strictly CBT or reality, how would they, that's counselor speak, but how would the lay person know what type of therapist to look for?
Yeah. So I would start with my therapist search via Psychology Today. So you can go on Psychology Today and you can literally put in everything that you can build your own therapist, right? So you can put insurance, you can put nationality, you can put gender, you could put um, practices, you can put location, teaching styles, like theories. Literally, you can put in all these things and come up with a list of people. But your therapist, how I think you have a great therapist when it clicks, right? So anytime someone goes and sees a therapist the very first time, it's not going to be, or it might, but it's not going to be like a, hey girl, okay, let me tell you everything that's going on with me. It's not going to be that, right? It's going to be, let me feel this person out. Can I trust this person? Is this person really even listening to me? Do they show some type of empathy? Do they care about what I'm saying? Are they watching the clock? Are they ready for this to be over? So there's a lot of different things that you pay attention to, and when you have that good therapist, that right therapist, it'll click. You'll feel comfortable. You'll walk in, and then at some point you'll be like, okay, let me tell you what happened to me today. I know we're supposed
Yeah.
to be talking about X, Y, and Z, but I gotta tell you this, right? So you'll develop that relationship. And as a therapist, that's the most important thing, right? So when I take on a new client, I don't ever say like, hey, okay, tell me everything that's going on with you. I usually start with kind of like the basics, like, what are some of the things that you like to do? What are, have you been doing those things lately? Tell me a little bit about your everyday life. Tell me about your home life, right? So I'm trying to really figure out like who this person is before we dive into those things that have been like stressing them out, making them depressed or making them anxious. Because then what you do is you start to build a picture and then you can correlate, well, okay, yeah, she's anxious because, she's got 5 kids at home and she's responsible for 20 employees, and so she's struggling with X, Y, and Z. So you're able to then kind of put it together and know how to address that issue. So definitely, and it's okay to, and I say this very cautiously. It's okay to change therapists. And again, I say that with a lot of caution. It's not like, hey, I'm a jump therapist, a therapist, a therapist. But if you pick a therapist and the first time, the first couple sessions just aren't going right, they're just not flowing, you're not feeling comfortable, it's okay to seek other avenues. But it's also okay to dive into that and say, what about you makes me uncomfortable? Right. And
Mhm.
so then you're actually, starting to work on some other things too. What about you just doesn't allow us to mesh and doesn't allow us to click? And so sometimes you can kind of work through that and process through that. And then sometimes it's just not a good fit, and that's okay too. But you shouldn't just be jumping therapist to therapist because, oh, well, I didn't like what she said, or I didn't like what he did, because we often do that too. Oh no, they don't know me, they don't know my problem, they don't know how to address it.
Mhm.
Because when you're in therapy, it gets real, right? It gets real, and if you have a really good therapist, they're going to challenge you.
Issue.
They're going to call you out on your stuff. And everybody doesn't like that, and everybody can't handle that. That's when you'll usually see a change. Oh, I need a new therapist. Okay. Well, hopefully you get one who does that the same way, or a way that can, that will help you.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So could you tell us the name of the site again to build your profile if you're
Yeah.
looking
So
Build a
for a therapist?
therapist.
yeah. So build your therapist. So it's Psychology Today.
Mhm.
So yeah, you'll go on Psychology Today. At the very top, it'll have something along the lines like therapist. You can click on that, and then it'll ask you like your like zip code. It'll ask you if you want to add your insurance information, if you have a gender specification, and then it goes on and on and on from there.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Um. So here's another question from a viewer. How can we eliminate the stigma surrounding seeking mental health counseling?
That's like a magic question. I don't know if I
It's the
have the
magic
answer to
question.
that. That's a magic question. Um, One way to eliminate stigma in mental health, period, is making sure we're talking about it, we're normalizing it, especially in the African American community. So growing up, I'm sure you all heard, like I've heard, hey, our business is our business. We don't tell anybody, any of our business. What happens in our house stays in our house. And it's like, no, but it doesn't have to, right? Because then in the house, who's helping me process this? Who's helping me work through it since we're keeping this thing a secret?
Right.
Also growing up, I've heard, oh, that's your crazy uncle or that's your crazy aunt. Get away from them. And so growing up, you're like, well, what does crazy even really mean? Right.
Right.
And so as I got older, I said, oh, okay, so crazy means some type of mental illness. But that doesn't mean that they're not like me and you. They're just
Right.
struggling with some things that we might not struggle with.
Right.
So really calling it what it is.
Mhm.
So Uncle Joe suffers from schizophrenia. Uncle Joe's not a schizophrenic, right? So there's a huge difference in our language, right? And so Cassandra suffers from depression, not Cassandra's depressed. Um, and the same thing with like psychosis, right? So again, Cassandra suffers from psychotic episodes, not Cassandra's crazy.
Mhm.
So really calling it what it is. And if you don't know what it is, oh man, Google, WebMD. I mean, there are so many things out there that can help educate you.
Mhm.
And it's okay to say, hey, I don't know how to, interact with someone who suffers from schizophrenia. I don't really know what to do when someone is having a psychotic episode. It's okay to say that, but we also again live in a day and age where we can educate ourselves, whether that's
Sure.
picking up a DSM-5, whether that's getting on Google, or even asking around. So we can definitely educate ourselves. Um, but I think the biggest way to end the stigma is normalizing it. It's okay. People go to therapy all the time. And
Mhm.
I don't know why people think it's like a big secret. Like, I don't know, a therapist has a therapist. So, believe it that if you're coming and dumping, and I don't even want to say dumping, but if you're coming and discussing issues with me and I have 7 clients a day, you absolutely better believe that I have somebody I have to process with too, right? Because I can't hold on to all those things too.
Okay.
So normalizing it, being okay with it, being comfortable in it, and calling it what it is.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. Speaking on it, speaking about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Asking questions.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So another question from a viewer. Um, I don't know. He or she didn't say. They said, "Oh, I'm out. I'm all out of options dealing with my son. He and other kids are hanging out, and I just have a bad feeling."
So I don't know if that question is just for me. I think we all can speak on
Right.
that.
Oh, definitely. I'm letting you. I'm letting you go ahead first, ladies first, and then I'm gonna go ahead and school them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
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 Okay. All
Old
right.
school, Curtis.
That's right.
Right.
Old school, baby. I'm about to give it to you real.
So maybe I'll come with the politically correct version, and Curtis will
Mhm.
give you
Yeah.
guys the parent real version. Um, so I'm going to say, having again going back to what we said earlier, having that conversation with your son, setting boundaries. And I always have to tell parents anytime I'm doing therapy, I always remind them, you're the parent. So everything the kid has or is doing, um, you know, comes from your allowing. So, as the parent, you have to set those boundaries. And the moment you don't follow through with those boundaries is the moment that the child knows, I can get away with this, right?
Yep.
I mean, I did it growing up. I'm like, okay, if she not gonna
We
say
all did
nothing,
it.
then I'm gonna try
Mhm.
it, right? And then I'm
Yep.
gonna keep trying it, and then it'll get out of hand where she can't do anything to me.
Yep.
So yes, I will just reiterate, as a parent, set those boundaries. You are the rule maker. Um, and if you stand firm, then I think you'll have a little bit less of an issue. And sometimes you got to do that tough love, whatever that
Yep.
means to you.
Stand in the garage. Don't come in the house.
Fedora, you want to tackle this before I get to
Well, there are a lot of things that we don't know how old or what have you. But regardless of that, just like Cassandra said, that you are the parent and you set the rules of the house, you have boundaries. And if the child crosses those boundaries, I don't know how old they are, but I would say anywhere from when you can walk and talk till the age of 18, because you're still tweening or whatever you want to call it, playing grown at 18. That you and then you're still living in the parent's home, then you have to abide by the parents' rules and boundaries. So if that is, you have a lot of family members in the house who are older, quite naturally, and who are susceptible to getting COVID, this is a life or death, possible situation. So therefore, everybody has to do their part and be respectful and responsible. So therefore, if you are not supposed to be hanging out, the city says it, everybody else says it around the world, the medical science say it, you are not supposed to do it, then you are not going to do it. Now, if you have issue with that and you think you're grown, then hasta la bye-bye. We're gonna have to do some tough love. You're not coming up in here and sleeping up in my house. You can sleep in the garage, depending upon the age. I can't put you out, but if you're 18, bye. So, but if you're a child, then okay, here's your bed, here's your stuff. It's in the garage amongst all whatever else is in the garage. No television, just the bed, the blanket, and the pillow. And so when you hang out with your buddies until you can go down the street and get a COVID test and that you negative, then that's when you can come back into the house. And that's about a week and a half. So I think a week and a half spending time in the garage. Like seriously, like spending time in the garage. I bring your food out there. Like I said, depending upon how old you are, I bring your food. You still get the food. I give you some little wipes that they use in the nursing homes and stuff. You can wash yourself on up. But until then, I mean, consequences, right? It's life, right? That's life. That's real life. So, that's a consequence. And once that's over and you finish, dealing with that and the awakening and eye opening, then they'll be like, oh, okay, yo, man, I can't go out. I'm at the house. Because what? No Xbox, no PlayStation 4, whatever it is, no Nintendo. You just out there. Bed, like in the military, cot, like you if you in the field. Cot, pillow, maybe not even a pillow with military, but a cot and a blanket. That's it.
Yeah.
Lights out at a certain time. Night night.
Yeah.
And you get your food, MREs. But go ahead, Curtis.
You're a little harder than I was. Listen.
Hey, this is life or death, baby. This is life or death.
Right. To the person
I love my life.
To the person that sent the question, and you shouldn't be all. to me, I don't think you should be all out of options with your son. First and foremost, I think that you should have if you lost that relationship with him, you need to reestablish that relationship with him and understand, like Fedora and Cassandra said, there are rules to this house. There are rules during this COVID. So if you can't abide by the rules, then we're gonna have to make some adjustments. And the adjustments that I might make, like I'm not gonna be as hard as Fedora, you're not gonna like them, you know. So we have to establish some rules first, and then talk about where do we go from here. Let's reestablish this relationship and understand that we're not roommates. I'm the parent, you're the child. You're not my roommate, so you just can't come and go as you please and hang out with your little friends. And guess what? Then you have the conversation with the little friends. You know, back in the day, I'm old school. Back in the day, they used to tell you, why are you in my yard? Didn't I tell you not to come back around here? So you might have to have that conversation with the friends and say, listen,
come over here.
My son is not allowed to hang out with you guys anymore since, you know, y'all troublemakers. So my child can't hang with y'all anymore. And you let them know, I don't like y'all. So when you tell them you don't like them or you don't care for them, they're not going to come around. And then you tell your son, hey, I don't feel good about this situation. Because first and foremost is if I get the phone call that you in jail, guess what? You're gonna stay in jail. You're gonna stay there because I'm gonna make a example out of you. You want to be grown, stay in there with the grown folks. See what I'm saying? There's life lessons that comes with not losing those options, as you say about your son. You shouldn't be losing no options because if you talking to us now, you talk to a friend, say, hey, I'm having a problem with him. What would you suggest? That's we like you said, Fedora. What we used to say, it takes a community to raise a child.
Village.
So we have to go back to the village. If you lost the option, then you go to the village and knock on the next door neighbor's door and say, hey, I'm out of options. What should I do? How do you get Johnny or Samuel or whatever to do what they supposed to do? And you just you take a little bit from this person and that person and you just put it into what you got to go on to get your son back on track to where he knows that you're not playing with him, that you care about him, that you love him, and their whole their life means a lot to you. You don't want to get that phone call that your child's no longer here. So once you emphasize it, I think it'll be better for you.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good question. Cassandra, is what we have been speaking about, is it considered abuse? And is that something a therapist would have to report the punishment by not allowing a child to come home during a pandemic?
So remember, I started with a politically correct answer. And then Fedora and Curtis gave their answers. At the end of the day, no. And I'm not saying what's right or wrong, right? So you discipline your child however you want to, and that's for everybody, not your child, just everybody. So to our viewer, absolutely. So if I am doing a therapy session with a teenager, and again, depending on what age they are. So if my 12-year-old comes in and says, my 12-year-old client comes in and says, my mom has me sleeping in the garage because I'm hanging out with my friends. I might say, okay, maybe you should start hanging out with your friends, but that is definitely something that you have to address, right? You can't have a 12-year-old sleeping in the garage. I don't know, maybe in Texas because it's not that cold, but in Chicago.
No, and that's why I said depending upon the age.
Right.
Depending upon the age.
Right. Yeah.
And then if they're 12 years old, you should have enough control to be able to say, you're not leaving this house at 12 years old. What are you talking about? 13. Like, that's why I said it has to depend upon the age. 17 and up, 17, 18, 19. Yeah. You old enough. But if you're younger, you should have enough control and boundaries for that child not to be going anywhere because they can't drive.
Right. Yeah.
They can't leave the house without supervision.
Yeah. And so to the viewer, yes, that is something that we would report. and then the authorities would decide if it's abuse. But what I'm going to say, again, piggybacking to off Fedora, I would want to know more of, from that question, where did you kind of lose the authority figure? At what point, what happened between your relationship with your son that he no longer felt like he had to abide by your rules or listen to what you're saying, right? So kind of going back to the root of it, and how did we even get here where I'm all out of options, or you're just doing whatever it is that you want to do. So that's definitely something to look at too. But viewers, Fedora and Curtis, they don't abuse their children.
Oh no,
No,
my children are
no,
grown.
I'm just kidding.
I don't do that. Children of this generation, they like the like you say, the smartphone, the smart watches, and the iPhones and stuff. You start taking that away,
Yep,
They'll get in line.
they
they'll get
will.
in line.
They will.
But
They
a lot of
absolutely
parents
will.
don't think they have that option. Because like they don't feel that they have that option when a child is not, I feel like, and with education, is not doing the things that they're responsible for doing as far as school wise, and there are no consequences or anything that will motivate them to do what they're supposed to do, right? Like they love their game, so why are they still playing video games, or why do they still have a television in their room when they have all these missing assignments or are not getting online when they should? Like, why are they having all these extra things? And when did it get into the parents' brain that they don't have that right to take those things away if they spent their hard-earned money to buy it, to give it to the child in the first place? So I don't understand why they think that there isn't a consequence for behaviors. I don't know where that escaped. I don't know where that went awry. I'm really confused, and I don't know what generation it happened. I don't know, but it really continues to baffle me as an educator when I hear parents say, "Oh, I can do that." Huh? Okay.
So Cassandra, is COVID going on? And Fedora says you've taken away all of these things that she or I purchased, right? From a mental health standpoint, do you think if they come to you, is that considered mental abuse, or does that affect them mentally? Because I just took away the whatever because they missed assignments, they weren't
the game or the cell phone. Sometimes the cell phone too.
They come to you and say they're emotionally, detached because there's COVID going on. They can't go outside. So now, how does that play?
That's a good question.
On the mental health side, dealing with COVID.
Yeah. So, to be honest, I think it can go either way, right? So you can have that person who's going to manipulate the situation and say, okay, I'm missing assignments, yes, but you took away my Xbox. So now the one thing that I absolutely love, the one thing that absolutely helps me concentrate, the one thing I'm so attached to, you took it away from me. So I'll never be able to do my homework. So you're going to have that manipulation, right? And so as the parent, you have to stand your ground. Okay, well, you still don't get this Xbox back until we see, 5 assignments turned in, right? So you're setting those realistic goals, though, right? So you can't say, I'm going to take your Xbox for. Let me take that back. You can say whatever you want because you're the parent and you bought the Xbox, but it's a good idea to make measurable goals, right? So is it realistic for, Johnny to get 3 assignments done in the next 4 weeks? And if so, then he can have his Xbox back. If he doesn't get those 3 assignments in, then, and he's missing one, then maybe we can give the Xbox back for 2 out of the 3 days or something along those lines, right? So kind of making that compromise and involving the child. That's huge, right? So as a parent, I think a lot of parents will say, oh, I'm just going to take your Xbox, you get it back when I give it back to you. But then that doesn't give the child anything to look forward to, right? So, okay, I might do these 3 assignments and my mom or dad might not even give me my Xbox back. So kind of sitting down and saying, okay, listen, you're missing these 3 assignments. We're taking your Xbox. Realistically, what do you think should be the timeline for you getting it back? And then as a parent, if you agree with that, you go with that. And if not, then, you go back to the table and you figure out something else. I think the biggest thing too is, and even myself growing up, as a kid, it was a lot of do as I say, right? You do as I say, you don't question me. And this generation now has questions. And as a parent, you have to be confident enough to be able to answer those questions, to make a compromise. That doesn't mean that you're giving up your parental rights. That doesn't mean that the child is dictating what you do, but you're showing the child that, hey, this is how you make a compromise, right? Because we make compromises in life all the time. So they're going to take that skill that they're learning from you and apply it in the real world anyway.
Yeah.
So, figuring out how to come to the table, how to work through disagreements, how to build trust back, how to make compromises. So, as a parent, just setting those realistic goals with the child, always involving the child, and then moving forward from there.
Okay.
Awesome. Very, very good. Very good examples. So, Curtis, I have one. You have one last question, or you want me to do the?
I don't have any more questions from the viewers. I answered all those. We discussed the viewers' questions already,
All
so I
right.
hope they listen.
So, one last question then. So, being a therapist or counselor is overwhelming at times. So, what do you do to balance and maintain your own health? But you pretty much answered that earlier, or mentally and physically, because you said you go and every counselor or therapist has a therapist
Or should
that they
have
go
one.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should
One
have
of the
one.
one of the other things that I do, that's so very simple, because I listen all day. So all I hear is words and talking and people's voices all day long. So my commute home, my ride home, I usually ride home in silence. So no radio. I usually don't talk on the phone. And that for me allows me to release all my thoughts, all everything that's kind of weighing on me. My entire day, I'm able to release that by just kind of driving in silence, and I just kind of let everything go. When I get home, the same thing. So I might pull in the garage and still maybe be like processing some things in my mind or going over some things in my mind. And so I'll just kind of take that time and be in the car and just kind of have that moment, because when I walk in the door, I really don't want to have to come in and continue to be processing my day unless it's something that requires like interaction with somebody else. But
Sure.
I hear people talking all day long, like all day long. So that little bit of time that I have on my way home, I prefer in silence, where I can just kind of think and let things go. So I do that. I also work out. Um, and then I do some journaling, probably not enough, but I do some journaling too. And those are my self-cares.
Awesome. I like that silence, because we don't know how important that is once you are constantly hearing something in your ear. That's a
Hmm.
good idea. I'm gonna
Hmm.
try that. That's a good idea. Just unplugging, even if it's just when I go to the restroom.
Hmm.
No television, no, in the shower, because usually I'll play music. So like no music,
Yeah.
just quietness. Yeah, I like that.
Hmm.
I'm gonna try that.
Just look up at the ceiling.
What?
Look up at the ceiling and just think about how your day went.
No, I don't want to think about anything.
Oh, you got to think
We're
about
done with the
something.
day. We're
It's
done with
just,
the day.
yeah, I'm done. Just like total silence. You know what I do normally to unplug? And it's only for maybe a couple of minutes, because then I'm like, okay, I got to get up and cook. But maybe for like 30 minutes, I'll come and I'll sit at the end of the couch and I'll just lay to the side and then just like I'm like, I need 30 minutes just to take a nap. I'll set
Right.
my alarm, and then like that cat nap or that little power nap will
Hmm.
help me, and then I'll get up and finish like cooking or whatever else I have to do.
Hmm.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah.
Well, Miss Cassandra, is there any more advice you want to give the people before we close up today with COVID going on and mental health?
Yeah, hang in there. Hang in there. It's a trying time right now, but you're not alone. We all feel it in some type of way. So reach out to those resources, reach out to your supports, and we're going to beat this. We're going to beat this pandemic. We are going to get through the rest of 2020, and we're going to hope that 2021 brings us nothing but greatness and prosperity. It almost has to, right? 2020 was so upside down. 2021 has no choice but to be great. So just hang in there. Hang in there. We're rooting for you, and we're here to support you.
Yeah. I got one. I know we're almost out of time, but I got one thing that just popped in my mind. Mental health, COVID-19, it's the holidays. What advice would you give them now?
Mm-hmm. So, Curtis, I think you missed everything. We talked about all this earlier.
Oh, y'all talking about that? Oh, well, my apologies. My apologies, everyone. That must have been when we had technical
difficulties.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I apologize. Okay.
No, it's okay.
We'll talk offline then. We'll talk offline. You can school me offline. I need some counseling.
I mean, it's truly. I mean, it's truly the same thing. The exact same thing. Holidays make it even harder with with COVID going on. But doing those things that bring you joy. If you're mourning the loss of a loved one during the holidays, doing some type of fun memory, right? So instead of, that sad thing, just a fun memory. What was their favorite movie to watch, or what was their favorite, food to eat, or something like that, that'll make you smile, as you remember them during the holiday, because you might not be able to be around family, you might not be able to go to the gravesite or what have you. But yeah, so looking at like family Zooms for the holidays, right? Maybe everybody cook like a special dish and you all get on Zoom and, laugh and joke and kind of hang out. Utilizing technology. Like if we didn't need technology before, we need it right now. So utilizing the technology and getting around those people that can help, support you in this difficult time.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So we've come to the end of another Sweet 915. Thank you, my co-host Fedora. She's done a phenomenal job. She was just doing my technical difficulties. So hats off to Fedora. That's why we're a team. We're a team. So Fedora, before we leave, what you want to tell the people?
As always, keep loving your heart. If you haven't voted, go vote for the runoff. And hey, like Cassandra said, we're gonna get through this. We can go nowhere but up, put it that way. So and we have a new president. So I'm just looking forward to better and bigger, better and greater things.
Yeah. So let me clarify. There's a runoff for the mayor, District 5. Is there the District 4, and the mayor has a runoff in El Paso. Is there another runoff anywhere?
No. Georgia will be having theirs.
Okay. So
other states, but here, just those.
If you're out in Georgia, remember that seat is very important. So you need to go out and vote. And people were saying, why go out and vote? Because it's your right. Exercise your right to vote. Get out there and make the right decision. It's very important right now with the transition of Trump to Biden. So it's very important that you get out there.
No, Biden to Biden. Getting Trump out of there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So continue to support us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And any questions or comments, you can find us on our Facebook page, Gmail at therealsweet915@gmail.com. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a blessed day. Thanks again, Cassandra, for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of good information. Thank you so much.